Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network. And the Boxing on the Beltway Podcast Network can be heard on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify. We're on Google Podcasts, we're on Podcast Addict, and we're on TuneIn. You can also go to your Alexa and say, Alexa, please play Boxing Along the Beltway. You can also hear us on YouTube, on my YouTube page, Gary Williams, as well as my Twitter page, Digital25. We have a lot to get to this week. We have a recap of one of our Beltway boxers who participated in a very important bout this past week. We also have an updated Beltway boxing schedule, believe it or not. We do have a number of boxers that will be participating in bouts in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And also, we're going to do something a little different this week. We're going to look back not at a boxer or at a event. We're going to look back in history at a year that was truly, for Beltway boxing, one of the most controversial, if not the most controversial year of Beltway boxing in recent history. So that's going to be our main story for this week. We have a lot to get to this week on the podcast. Now, the Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network brought to you as always by Real-Time Pain Relief. From boxers to ballerinas, for shoulder pain and muscle strain, everything in between, Boxing on the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the natural, plant-based, safe, fast, and effective ointment. You go to freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief, now endorsed by former heavyweight champion Big George Foreman. You can try his knockout formula for Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. She has great weight loss tips, great jewelry, and great training methods at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Well, on August 1st, this past week, DC Super Featherweight Marcus Dream Crusher Bates, he lost by 10th round TKO to Rais the Beast Alim in Las Vegas, Nevada. That was in the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut, and that was a WBA Super Featherweight title eliminator. This bout, really, Alim was in complete control. Bates could not keep up with Alim's pace during the bout, and Bates, somewhere during the contest, ended up being hampered by an injury to his right wrist. And by the 10th round, the injury was just too much for Bates to bear, and the bout was stopped at 2:18 of the 10th round. So a tough loss for Bates, who is now lost twice, 11-2 now, 8 KOs, and both of his losses have come to Alim. Believe it or not, Alim remains undefeated. He's 17-0, 11 KOs. Alim was ranked 8th by the WBA, and Bates was ranked 9th by the WBA going into the bout. So tough loss once again for Marcus Dream Crusher Bates. So that was the recap from last week. A tough loss for Marcus Bates. Now, the schedule coming up in the next few weeks will be very, very interesting. It'll start this coming Saturday, August the 8th, when Upper Marlboro, Maryland super lightweight Michael the Professor Fox competes in a 10-round bout against Lucas Santamaria out of Garden Grove, California. And that bout will take place at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California, and the bout will be televised on FS1. Fox is 22-1, 5 KOs. He last fought on December 6th and won an 8-round unanimous decision over John Ariano in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, Santamaria is 10-1-1, 7 KOs. He comes off an 8-round split decision, win over Willie Jones on October 4th in Houston, Texas. Now, this telecast will be part of the FS1 telecast that will take place at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, there will be a part of the card that will be on Fox Network earlier in the evening. I think it's 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And that part of the telecast could be very interesting because Michael Fox is in a kind of interesting situation, in all honesty. If coming up this week, they're going to test all the boxers for this bout for COVID-19. Now, recently, if you've been following the boxing around the country the last couple of weeks, we've had a couple of situations where boxers that were scheduled to be in the main event have unfortunately tested positive for COVID-19. So they moved boxers into the situation that happened, into the main event situation. That happened most recently on August 1st, the same card that Marcus Bates was on. The main event with that bout was scheduled to be scheduled to be Stephen Fulton taking on Angelo Leo. Well, what happened in that situation was Fulton tested positive, unfortunately, for COVID-19, and they moved Tremaine Williams into the championship situation, and Angelo Leo defeated Tremaine Williams in that bout. Now, the PBC, once again, who's covering this bout, they did one that was on Showtime. Marcus Bates bout, by the way, was on Showtime. They're doing the same thing here because if the main event, which was scheduled to be a WBA interim welterweight championship bout between Thomas DeLorme and Jamal James, should either one of those boxers test positive for COVID-19, then Michael Fox, who is ranked number 13 in the world by the WBA at welterweight, will be eligible to compete in the bout and contend for the interim welterweight championship. Not the best way to try to get a title shot, and we really pray that DeLorme and James do not test positive for COVID-19. So, on one hand, you want to see Fox get a title shot, but not in this manner. Definitely not. So, to see what takes place, once again, they'll be testing probably on Friday this week, and the bout is scheduled to be on Saturday. And Michael Fox's bout against Lucas Santa Maria is scheduled to be on the telecast on the FS1 channel, beginning at 10 p.m. I believe they're going to be the third bout on that telecast. So we'll see what happens. So Michael Fox coming up August 8th, against Lucas Santa Maria of Garden Grove, California, at the Microsoft Theater in Los Angeles, California. Meanwhile, Michael Fox's older brother, Lantes Slyaz Fox, he will see action on Saturday, August 15th at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville, Connecticut. Fox, who's 26-2-1, 12 KOs. He'll be in an 8-round middleweight bout against a man known as the Wild Hurricane, Habib Ahmed of Accra, Ghana. He's 27-1-1, 18 KOs. Now, Fox looks to bounce back from a 5th-round TKO loss to Liam Williams on December 21st in London, England. Ahmed has fought for the WBO Super Middleweight Championship, and he lost that title opportunity to Gilberto Ramirez by getting knocked out in February of 2018. Now, since that loss, Ahmed has won 2 straight, including an 8-round unanimous decision win over Juan de Angel in May of 2019 in Biloxi, Mississippi. So both Fox brothers will be in action in the next couple of weeks. Michael Fox on August 8th and Lantes Fox against Habib Ahmed coming up on August 15th in Uncasville, Connecticut. Meanwhile, Thursday, August 20th, Columbia, Maryland super middleweight Ashton the Goon Sykes will be in action. He'll be in a 6-round contest against Cruz Hitman Stewart, who's undefeated out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. The bout will be held somewhere in Detroit, Michigan. They haven't given us a location for that yet. Sykes is 5-3, 1 KO, coming off riding a 3-bout winning streak, including a 4-round unanimous decision victory over previously undefeated Isaiah Hart on March 7th in Cheswick, Pennsylvania. Stewart is 7-0, 6 KOs, coming off a 6-round unanimous decision win over Martez McGregor on March 13th in Hinckley, Minnesota. So Ashton the Goon Sykes back in action Thursday, August 20th in Detroit, Michigan against another undefeated boxer, Cruz Stewart out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But so far, the busiest boxer during this challenging time of COVID-19 has been undefeated Baltimore, Maryland super middleweight Lorenzo Truck Simpson. He'll compete for the second time in less than a month when he faces the equally undefeated primetime Sonny Duversonnet of Avon Park, Florida. That'll be an 8-round contest on August 29th. And that'll be that's a Saturday, August 29th at the Mississippi Coast Convention Center in Biloxi, Mississippi. This will be Simpson's first 8-round encounter and his second straight time competing at the Mississippi Coast Center. Simpson's 8-0, 5 KOs, knocking out Alexandro Duarte in the first round on July 11th, once again at the Mississippi Coast Convention Center. Duversonnet is 11-0-2, 8 KOs, and he last fought on February 29th, scored a 5th-round TKO over Larry Smith in St. Petersburg, Florida, and Duversonnet has knocked out his last 4 opponents. Now, this is going to be part of a card that will be televised on the CBS Sports Network. No official word yet whether or not Lorenzo Simpson will be on that telecast. But once again, Lorenzo Truck Simpson taking on primetime Sonny Duversonnet of Avon Park, Florida. That'll be on Saturday, August 29th. Once again, the Mississippi Coast Convention Center in Biloxi, Mississippi. Also on Saturday, August 29th, cruiserweight Larry Hitman Pryor scheduled to be in a 4-round bout against an opponent be determined at the Sports Zone in Derry, New Hampshire. Pryor is 11-22, 5 KOs. He hasn't fought since October 4th when he lost by 4th-round TKO to F. Tabor Opochi. That was in Houston, Texas. So that'll be on Saturday, August 29th. Cruiserweight Larry Hitman Pryor taking on opponent to be determined in Derry, New Hampshire. Now on Friday, August 28th, Upper Marlboro, Maryland super featherweight Lamont Roach Jr. He returns to action in a 10-round contest against a man by the name of Neil John the Beast Tabano of Mandaue City, Cebu, Philippines. Roach is 19-1-1, 7 KOs, looks to bounce back from his 12-round unanimous decision loss to Jamel Herring. That was for the WBO Super Featherweight Championship. That was back on November 9th in Fresno, California. Now, Roach is still ranked by the WBO at number 13. Tabanow is 17-7, 11 KOs, looking to break a 3-bout losing streak. Now, Tabanow is coming off a 10-round unanimous decision loss to Irving Turrubiates, on August 24th in Hermosillo, Mexico. Now, two of Tabanow's recent losses have come to both Angelo Leo and Tremaine Williams. And Leo defeated Williams on August 1st, we said, for the WBO Junior Featherweight Championship in Uncasville, Connecticut. So he's come with a pretty good resume. He also has fought Isaac Dogbo. So Tabanow is a very experienced boxer. Could give Roach a little bit of an interesting situation coming up on Friday, August 28th. And by the way, the bout is scheduled to be streamed on DAZN. So a lot going on all of a sudden here in the area. Nothing going on directly in the area yet. We have some cards that are scheduled for later on in the year. Again, COVID-19 notwithstanding, we do have a lot of things going on in Virginia primarily, not in Maryland or in D.C., but Virginia has a couple of cards that are scheduled for later on this year. Again, whether or not COVID allows that, we'll see what happens. Now, this week we're going to talk about a special year in Beltway Boxing. Now, every year, except for this past year, I and my partner Juan Marshall, we get together. We try to do a year in review. We try to give out awards to some of the boxers, knockout of the year, boxer of the year, card of the year, and so on. Rookie of the year, prospect of the year. This past year, I just didn't do it because I really did not have the energy to do it this year. That is really the most involved, time-consuming process I go through all year. And that last year, I just didn't have it. I just didn't have the energy to do it. Really didn't have the desire to do it this past year. A lot of things going on personally in my life. But my main thing, I just didn't have the desire to do it this year. But I've usually done it every year. And every year, I try to do a review at the beginning of that week before we give all the awards out. That kind of gives an overall view of that particular year. And I try to label it something. Give the year a name. And we're going to look at one year that I think stands out from any other year we've done in the now 16 year and going on my 16th year of doing the blog Boxing Along the Beltway. And I think this one really stands out among them. It is one of the most interesting years of Beltway boxing. I'm going to take you back to the year of 2008. And 2008 I called the year of controversy. Now, we had a lot of good things happen in 2008. No championships, but we had a number of good things happen. We had 25 boxers on national television, and they had an overall one-loss record that year of 13-11, 6 KOs, and 1 no contest. And we had 9 of those appearances on ESPN2. Showtime were on 6 times. We're on Telefutura twice. Versus back and now, known by another name, but the Versus Network. We're on pay-per-view twice. We're on HBO twice. NBC had 1 event, and Fox Sports Net back then had 1 appearance. And Lamont Peterson was on with 3 times. Boxers like Fernando Guerrero, Anthony Peterson, and Hakeem Rock. We had a lot of Beltway boxers on TV that year and also on streaming. But we had 5 situations that truly, in all, took place in 1 year. That was just incredible. I mean, just a lot of things went on that year that was just incredible. So we're going to look at it chronologically. 4 of these were actual parts of cards, and 1 was a event that took place worldwide that was very controversial at that time. Okay, we'll take you back to January 31st, 2008. The place was Michael's 8th Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Now, I called this the bout before the bout because this was a situation where it's just incredible. This was a scheduled contest between Isaiah Snyder, heavyweight out of Baltimore, and the people's champion, Jonathan Felton of Stafford, Virginia. They were scheduled to meet in a 4-round contest at Michael's 8th Avenue. But when Felton entered the ring, he began to move towards Snyder. He began to taunt him. And then one of Snyder's cornermen tried to move Felton away, tried to push him away. Felton pushed back. Snyder jumped in. It was a full-scale brawl. Both men ending on the mat, and the bout never happened. It was ruled a no contest. And so it was crazy because they were trying to see whether or not they were going to suspend either one of the guys, but then nothing really happened after that. And a rematch was slated for May 29th in the ballroom, but Snyder was injured in sparring against Tony Thompson. And Felton was knocked out by Harvey Jolly in the first round of the bout, and Snyder did not fight for the rest of 2008. So that was the first event. That was January 31st. Michael's 8th Avenue, Glen Burnie, Maryland. We're going to stay at Michael's 8th Avenue and take you to April 3rd. And this situation I referred to as sort of like a episode of one of my all-time favorite series, The Man from U.N.C.L.E. It would have been known as the Liniment Spray Affair. Now, 2 Beltway boxers who were really promising at that time, they were scheduled to meet for the Maryland State Featherweight title. Terrell the Showshocker Samuel of Baltimore and Thomas K.O. Snow of Capitol Heights. And all was going to plan during the card until there was a longer than usual break during the card between the co-featured bout and the main event. Now, before the contest, Snow put on a spray that he says he has used in every bout, for every bout without incident. But in this case, Samuel's trainer, who's a former world champion, Vincent the Ambassador Petway, he smelled that spray. He said it smelled like liniment and was afraid that the spray could get in the boxer's eyes. Snow tried to wash the spray off, but there was still some on his body, enough to force Maryland State Athletic Commission members to cancel that bout. So that was just bizarre. No question about that. Now, there was make it even worse, there was a rematch that was planned for District Heights, Maryland on May 3rd at District Heights Municipal Center. But Snow took ill, fainting after a training session, so the bout never took place. And Samuel would have gone on to win the Maryland State Super Featherweight title with a unanimous decision win over Ron Boyd on November 20th. So it was just that was a strange day. I remember that because it was just got a lot of comments on the blog because of that all throughout the year. So that was number 2. That was the Liniment Spray Affair I called between Terrell Samuel and Thomas Snow. Now, the situation that brought worldwide controversy to the Beltway was on August 8th. And that was, of course, 2008 was an Olympic year. And our very own Gary Russell Jr., who's now the WBC featherweight champion, was in the Olympics. He was considered to be one of the best American hopes for a gold medal. However, on August 8th, Russell was disqualified for being 1 pound over the 119-pound bantamweight limit. Later, Russell was found unconscious and severely dehydrated by one of his teammates, Luis Yanez. And according to NBC television, medical personnel were able to rehydrate him after he made a final attempt to make weight. Now, the former U.S. head coach Dan Campbell told NBC that we became alarmed a couple days ago when we saw he wasn't sweating like he should. And when these kids try to make weight, sometimes they cut corners. When we believe that he did not increase his fluid intake after we told him to. Russell weighed 121 pounds prior to the weigh-in, was trying to get to the required 119 pounds before the weigh-in at 6 a.m. the next day. Russell went running to get the last 2 pounds off and collapsed after returning to Olympic Village. His father, Gary Russell Sr., said his son passed out after resting from the run. He was treated with fluids by doctors at his dormitory, but was not hospitalized. And Russell was very honest, forthright about what happened. He's talked freely, even to this day. He talks freely about what happened in Beijing, and of course, he's going on to be one of the longest reigning champions here in boxing right now. He doesn't fight always, but when he does, he's something special. No question about that. So Gary Russell did turn a negative into a positive after August 8th, 2008. Now, what I'm going to tell you here is probably the strangest moment that took place. Well, actually, one of the 2 strangest moments took place during this year. And it was something that actually I was kind of thrown into this situation. And it was kind of weird. Just the whole thing was weird. But let's talk about it real quick. Well, this happened at the now closed Ibiza nightclub in Washington, D.C. This was an ESPN 2 bout that took place there. And the main event was a bout for the United States Boxing Organization Middleweight Championship. Baltimore, Maryland's Ishmael the Arsenal Arvin took on Anthony the Messenger Thompson of Philadelphia. Again, not to be confused by Tony the Tiger Thompson. This was Anthony Thompson, middleweight out of Philadelphia. Now, there was a new promotion group at that time called Heavy Hitter Promotions. They're no longer in existence. It was in a brand new location, and it was the first card that was regulated by the then Boxing and Wrestling Commission chair, Jason Turner, who's no longer the chair. Now, the controversy began in this bout in the 3rd round when the heads of the 2 boxers collided unintentionally. Thompson suffered a nasty gash and lump over his left eye, but he dropped Arvin twice in that same round. Now, to his credit, Arvin fought back bravely and managed to gain ground in the bout, but along the way, Thompson's eye got progressively worse. In the last 2 rounds of the bout, both ringside doctors at the time, Dr. Don Carroll and Dr. Greg Banks, who both went to school with both of them at Howard University, by the way, took close looks at Thompson's cut. Now, finally, after the 6th round, Greg Banks, the doctor, decided that Thompson's cut suffered enough and advised referee Malik Waleed to stop the contest. Now, this is where the strange part comes in with this thing. ESPN's announcer, Joe Tessitore, who's still doing boxing to this day on ESPN, I should say, he did an impression of one of my all-time favorite sportscasters, Warner Wolf. I don't know, some of y'all may not be old enough to remember Warner Wolf. He used to work in Washington, D.C., worked for many years in New York as well. And he said, let's go to the videotape. And he showed Waleed a monitor and showed Waleed the replay that showed that there was a headbutt, although Waleed in real time gave no signal that it was cut was a result of a headbutt, which means the cut, to Waleed's way of thinking, came as a result of a punch. Now, instant replays can't be used to officially overturn a decision in D.C. or just about any place else in that matter. Scorecards did not come into play, and Arvin ended up winning by technical knockout, and he won the USBO Middleweight Championship. Now, the D.C. Commission denied a protest by the Thompson camp, while the USBO acknowledged the Arvin victory, but they ended up stripping him of the title. Now, the controversy continues a little bit, and this is where I get thrown into the mix, because there was an interview that Anthony Thompson did on a website that accused me of having a financial stake in Arvin's career, that I somehow influenced the decision. Now, my vantage point for this bout, this particular night, was in the rafters alongside the fight Dr. Jerome Spears. Jerome Spears and I were both at the bout, and we were sitting as far away from the ring as you possibly could. I mean, this wasn't a big place. We just found a location. We just decided we didn't want to sit at ringside. We could have, we didn't want to. And we sat up in the rafters. I had no financial stake, and I've never had any financial stake in any boxer in the history of my time at Beltway Boxing. So I watched it from the utmost balcony of the Ibiza nightclub. So that was a very strange night, no question about that. And why he accused me of influencing decisions beyond me. I mean, I wanted Arvin to win, no question, but I have no stake in that, definitely. And wouldn't have mattered anyway because he wasn't in Maryland. So anyway, just very strange situation. Now, our fifth and final event took place on September 5th at the Burns Arena in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, this bout for many years got more hits on my blog than almost any other bout, with the possible exception of Peterson-Khan. It was a good bout, a quality bout between two rising middleweight prospects. It was the bout between Jesse the Beast Niccolo of Baltimore. He took on Charlottesville, Virginia's George Wartime Rivera in a bout scheduled for 8 rounds. Now, Niccolo was in complete control early in the bout, using very effective inside work to break Rivera down. And Niccolo scored a knockdown in the fourth, landing a beautiful uppercut to the body. Niccolo's continued good work forced Rivera to grab and hold, leading referee Kenny Chevalier to take a point away from Rivera in the 6th round. Now, as the 8th round started, Chevalier sent both men back to their corners to get a fair start. The bell rang, but Rivera was still heading to his corner, had his back partially turned to Niccolo. Niccolo ran across and clocked Rivera and knocked him down. Chevalier did not rule an official knockdown, but the hit seemed to wake up Rivera and set up a small melee that caused arena security to rush in. Now, once security cleared the ring, the bout resumed, but it was Rivera who did the charging, catching Niccolo with solid shots that dropped him to the canvas not once, but twice. After the second knockdown, Chevalier halted the action. After a long period of time, they found out Rivera's mouthpiece had been missing. The bout was stopped again later in the round because of a cut on the middle of Rivera's forehead. And after the round resumed, Niccolo hung on for the victory. It was bizarre. I mean, we had so many hits on the blog. This is back when I allowed comments for the blog. I don't do it now. But we had about 177 hits and comments about that particular bout in just a 7-day period. And I remember Niccolo during this bout was yelling at me for some reason. You know, he was very much involved in something I was talking about, and I was saying at ringside. I didn't understand one bit what happened there. Now, a rematch was indeed in order. It took place on November 1st at George Mason University Patriot Center in Fairfax, Virginia. Rivera won, no doubt. He won a clear-cut, unanimous decision, 8-rounder there. So that was the year of 2008. Definitely one of the most controversial years in Beltway boxing history. It had a little bit of everything. You had melees before the bout. We had liniment thrown into the mix. We had brawls during the bout. We had a tough situation for one of our best boxers, and just a strange year. And we had videotape played into the mix as well. So it's a strange year of Beltway boxing. The year of controversy, the year 2008. That'll do it for another edition of Beltway Boxing, Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network. Remember, you can hear it in many different podcast platforms, so please give us a rating. Tell them how much you like it. Give us many comments. We'll definitely be able to read them. All right. Once again, the Beltway Boxing Podcast, Boxing on Beltway Podcast Network, brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief. You go to freepainoffer.com. Buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief. You get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief, endorsed by Big George Foreman. And don't forget to try out his knockout formula. Rub it on. The pain is gone in real time. And by DeborahSpears.com. Great weight loss tips, great jewelry, and great training methods at Deborah, Debra Spears.com. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Mind you, as always, keep supporting the best boxing in the world. The boxing along the Beltway. Thanks for listening, everyone. Take care.